A lap at VIR was once described as being like 100 laps at Watkins Glen. That should give you an idea of how busy our drivers will be in this session as we get ready for qualifying in this Porsche Sprint Challenge North America GT3 Cup Series. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is former driver Joey Atterbury. Joey, you've had a ton of laps here. What's the secret of this place?
You got to go fast, Joe.
I like that.
That's the secret. You just got to go fast. No, we're here at beautiful VIRginia International Raceway, like you were saying. 17 turns, 3.27 miles in length, and there are a couple key corners that you really got to accelerate off of. But I think some cool parts about this VIR circuit that I love is the climbing S's. That's always one of the most awesome motorsports shots in the world, of these cars hauling the mail up through the S's. And then me personally, I like these big brake zones. So looking at turn number 1, looking at turn number 14, those are two areas that you can really jump on the brakes here. And trust me, the cars are moving at the end of the straightaways here at VIR.
No doubt. These GT3 Cup cars do have quite a bit of power underneath them. And we have seen a few spins over the course of the weekend. A few cars damaged as well. So some drivers may be starting a bit on the back foot. Now, there are two groups that they are qualifying in. They will combine all the times, and that will decide our pole sitter. So who is on pole in this session might not be in pole by the end of the second session. We'll have to try and keep track of that time, see who gets that overall. But as you can see, we've also not just got these two groups that are running, but we've got two different classes. Each group will have a mix of those classes. Those blue cars or blue boxes you see on your timing screen, that's going to be your Masters. And then the black ones will be your Pro-Am. It's the same cars. It's just a difference in the licensing of the drivers. So they will be mixed together, and track position will be important. The bigger thing, though, Joey, is while they've separated them to get people a little bit more space on the track, it's only 15 minutes. That's very little time around here.
You're right. These cars doing sub 2-minute lap times out here. I think our Cayman provisional pole was at a 1:53. So let's say these GT3 Cup cars should be sub 1:50 out here. And it takes me back to the first times that I came to VIR. Anytime that you broke 2 minutes around this place, it was going real fast. And, of course, we've had some repaves, some extensions out there with runoffs and whatnot. So the new surface, the drivers taking advantage of the extra width out there, this place has gotten really fast.
This is Caden Kelly and the 208 Kelly Moss car. Currently sitting second in the points in Masters right now, but it is a long ways back to Scott Blend, who's really been throttling that top position on the podium for quite some time now. Last 3 races he has won, actually, here in North America. And not just that, he's been winning over in the West Club as well, the USA West Series that Porsche Sprint Challenge runs. He has just been the man to beat. So Kelly's going to have to try and pick it up, see whether or not he can do something, as we got a little bit of a glance coming under the bridge up towards the climbing S's.
Yeah, we were riding on board with that 280 cow-themed car of Gilliland as we watched the 208 of Caden Kelly round his way through turn number 10 down towards this oak tree corner. A little bit of a tricky double apex because you're on the brakes early, and then you got to turn the car in a second time to that late apex. And then, of course, you see that extra runoff that I was talking about. Both of those drivers standing on the gas, letting the car drift out drivers left, trying to accelerate as soon as possible down this long back straightaway.
Yeah, Gilliland in that cow machine is part of the Masters class. And honestly, despite the age, he hasn't been put out to pasture yet. He's sitting 4th in the championship right now. So he's also having a very good season. We've seen improvement from him compared to last year. But we're still waiting for those first times to be in, and we're going to see them shortly. As here is Cole Kleck, Pro-Am Championship leader right now, coming across the set his first time.
And you see that 150 miles an hour approaching 160 miles an hour before he jumped on the brakes down there at turn number 1. Maybe call it half a car width off of the apex. But I think here, this turn number 1, it wraps around for so long. It kind of includes what is turn number 2 into it. So I think you're okay if you're not completely on that apex line down there at turn number 1. But, Joe, to your point, 148.5 out of this number 211 already.
My goodness, and he's still about 2.3 seconds ahead of the next car. Granted, it's early, but that's Hinkle who sits in second in the 277. Caden Kelly, our fastest in the Masters, with Gilliland coming in behind. So things are looking interesting at this stage. The other odd thing about Kleck for this weekend is Alan Metney is not able to be here. He's been the one that's been fighting him just about every single weekend. So this leaves very much an open door for Cole to try and take massive points in the championship. Oh, and a big slide.
Yeah, well, he's on it. Even through the S's, you saw him up at what would be turn number 9 at the top of the S's, just kind of kicking up a little bit of that apex dust. So he is using 100% of the track, maybe plus a little bit of percentage out there. You see, once again, the speed's over 160 miles an hour before he jumps on the brakes down here to enter what is roller coaster and down into hog pen. This is a severe downhill drop in elevation. In this corner right here, turn number 17, drive the car into the racetrack, and that's exactly what Cole did. You saw the little bit of correction. You got to charge it in and let gravity, let vehicle dynamics do its thing when it catches that compression.
So is this going to be an improvement? He'll come across the line. 48.5. Looks like he was a little slower that time, although he did set a purple sector 2, so his quickest if anybody there. Kelly now goes second fastest of the field. Moves up to the overall front row. Gilliland joins him third overall. Hinkle now being shuffled backwards. Also, I want to give a shout out to Hutter as he started out with a good lap here, although he's starting to get pushed farther and farther backwards. He's currently 6th overall.
Watching this orange 211 carve his way through what is turns 4 and 5 here at this VIR circuit. Now we jump back to that car that was directly behind that 208 of Caden Kelly here. Going through the lower part, the snake down here, the lower S's accelerate down underneath the bridge. This is my favorite part of this racetrack, Joe. These climbing S's. And when you stand out there, you listen to these drivers, they are wide open throttle throughout those entire S's. If you're breathing the throttle, you're losing time.
And you could see from that angle just how big the crests are. I'm pretty sure, I have to imagine, can you even see the following corner in some spots through there? Because it looks like you can't.
Well, yes and no. You can kind of see where the apexes are, and then you can kind of see where the road climbs, because it is an uphill. So it is not completely unsighted over there. But yes, you do kind of have to aim for the apex curbs maybe a little bit aggressively, and then just kind of trust that the car placement where it lands is going to land right in the middle of the track.
Makes for some spectacular shots. So if you've got a camera, head over there and try to get some head-on angles for the cars coming up the hill. In the meantime, back down the hill, through the roller coaster, and into hog pen. More drivers trying to set times. Actually, all 17 of this session have set a time. So that's really good to see. Nobody's going to have to grid up according to championship position then. Caden Kelly again finding a bit more time this last lap with a 150.3. And Cole Kleck has just parked the car already.
Yeah, he turned those 2 laps and said, all right, that's pretty good. We're going to go ahead and park it in pit lane and save our tires for our first of the 2 races this weekend. Something we haven't mentioned yet, Danny Dashelski. He is up into P2 overall, Pro-Am. And if you remember, Joe, he was in the Cayman GT4 back at Sonoma. So this is not only a different platform for him, but it's also a different group of racers that he's got to get used to. I know that he's been doing a lot of competition in various Porsche chassis, and it certainly seems like he's pretty fast.
I am going to be fascinated to see what he can do against Kleck, because, remember, he was the only one that could take the fight in the GT4s to Jens Hansen. He's the only one that's beat him so far on the track this season. So with Alan Metney having beat Cole Kleck twice already, Cole hasn't been as dominant, but he's definitely dominant, and I think that's going to be kind of the measuring stick that we'll have to put Danny up against.
One thing that Cole has going for him is that he knows his number 211 machine. He's in every single race weekend that he can, so he is comfortable in these GT3 Cup platforms. It's just how quickly does Danny adapt from going from GT4 machinery to essentially this GT3 Cup car. It looks like he's got a good grip on it. And in fact, that last time actually went even a little bit faster, 149.0. So I wonder if he is still ramping things up. He's only about 4.5 tenths off of overall pole position.
Yeah, maybe. And that's, we have to remember, that's pole position in this session. There's 2 groups of GT3 Cup cars, and we're going to have another one once this is over that will also get their own 15 minutes. So pay attention to that. As the order that you see is not going to be the order they start on the grid. They're going to be a bit shuffled because everybody is going to be sorted according to their time. And about half a second to make up for Jashelski. Caden Kelly, still your pole sitter, down in the Masters. And again, Hutter, Chris, is up into 3rd in class in the Pro-Ams. This is a fantastic result for the 281. With only 4 minutes left, yeah, he looks like he has really got a good run on that. Spare a thought, by the way, for Dan Ammon. We've talked a lot today at the track about the temperatures, not really the temperatures, more so the humidity. And Dan is running all 4 races this weekend, along with the qualifying sessions that we've got. So Dan is going to be a tired boy.
It is hot and humid out here. When we were covering those Cayman GT4s in the qualifying sessions, we kind of mentioned the weather. I mean, it was 95% humidity this morning at about 8:30. It is going to do nothing but get warmer in terms of that ambient air temperature. We were following that white number 252 of Danny Jashelski, but seems like he is going to go ahead and bring it down into pit road. Joe, we're going to be talking about the weather all weekend. I think it's actually going to be even warmer tomorrow. The drivers hydrate, and hydrate even more.
I have good news for you. You remember it was 95% humidity this morning? It's down to only 85%.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good.
It's still steamy out there. It is a real sauna the second you step outside. Even if the temperatures are not the highest we've ever seen, it just is a miserable feel. I think it said real feel was 104 degrees out there. It's going to make it difficult for the drivers. Joel Johnson sitting in 5th now. That's a good jump up to 2nd in Masters for the 227. As it looks like we've got some of our CHR cars coming around, looking to improve their time. And I think that's Reinhold Kron that we see in the 233, just coming down the backstretch as he follows behind the 218 currently.
I wouldn't be surprised if you look at the timing ticker. We've got about half the amount of cars in pit lane, maybe just under half the amount of cars in pit lane. And I actually think that we might have a slow-moving vehicle somewhere on the racetrack. As I look at timing and score our start-finish tower, and we've got a little bit of a white flag out, and that usually means that there's something going on the racetrack in that specific area.
For those not familiar, the white flag can mean 2 things. Either the last lap of the race, and since we're not in a race, yes, Joey's right, that is an indicator that there is a slow car on track in front of you. So be aware and be ready. Hopefully that is just somebody maybe trying to get themselves some track position, get out of the way. This is Groombridge that we're watching, who was ahead of Kron that we were seeing down the backstretch.
And I think I might have found it. At least Race Control shows the 277 was off at turn number 1 and continued, and that is Hinkle in that number 277 car. But the most important continued, so it seems like maybe just a little bit deep on the brakes and kind of went off into the grass a little.
1:30 left on the clock, and top 5 are in pit lane. Honestly, 6 out of the top 7 are in pit lane. Hinkle's the highest up that is able to improve at this stage. He has enough time he can get back to the start-finish line, it looks like, to start one final flyer. Groombridge definitely needs some pace here. In fact, he's struggling with something, unfortunately. It looks like Nicholas is about 11 seconds off pole time, so I'm not sure if he's actually got a representative lap in, but he's last on the field. He's still out there running. Like I said, he's got time to try and improve from here. Let's see what he can do.
And when you're running as a pair like this, I think that there can be positive benefits, but there can also kind of be negative consequences to it. If this car in front may be a little bit less familiar with the racetrack or not as confident in a specific sector, you kind of have to watch out, and it might potentially conflict your lap if you're behind it. But On the other hand, if you got somebody out that's a little bit faster as that lead car, it's kind of that carrot on the end of the lure to go out there and chase and see where they're placing the car going into roller coasters, see where they're placing the car going into hog pen, and you might be able to learn a couple things.
Now, I'm looking at the distance between them now, and yeah, Kron was backing off. He was trying to give him some space. He knew this is a car that's not as quick as him, so he's just letting Groombridge do his thing. He doesn't want to interrupt his lap and let him try to get something quicker on the board. Try to break that 2-minute mark as the checkered flag is out. Yes, there it is. And just as one of the cars crossed the line, that was Groombridge, and he didn't improve, unfortunately. So that is a shame. He was right at the cusp of getting one more lap in.
Yeah, just you called it, and as soon as you said it, the start-finish started waving that checkered flag. So it looks like we've got about 4 or 5 cars still out there. I see Todd Treffert. Also see, I think Eric Lapp is out there, as well as Dan Ammon still coming in. That 297. And just remember, if you are on a flying lap before that checkered flag comes out, and it's a good one, you can complete it. You just cannot start a new one.
Michael Levitas, also a newcomer to the series out there. And continuing on, he's in the 3rd sector, but we're seeing a lot of cars come down pit lane in front of us at the booth. So it seems like most are pleased enough, or at least don't feel like they're going to improve on this lap, so they're going to wrap it up. Treffert's still out there. Looks like crossing the line is going to be Michael Levitas just now. And I didn't see another car take that checkered flag, which is weird because we saw him cross the line, so I'm not sure if that was Treffert or Ammon. Must have been Ammon, because that was Treffert that just went by us, yes.
Yeah, and actually there goes Ammon across the line. Now I see the checkered flag pop up next to that 268 machine. So we are officially complete with our first group of qualifying in the GT3 Cup cars.
A reminder, this is just for the order of this group. Cole Kleck, the fastest of Group A in P1. Deshelsky comes up and gives him a challenge, but it's still half a second off. He'll be P2 in his first GT3 Cup race. Kelly starts on pole, puts the fastest time, I should say, in for Masters in Group A. Going to have to catch myself on that. Tilby 3rd overall, Chris Hutter 4th, and then Johnson in P5. Hinkle will start 4th. John Gilliland in 4th in class. John Gilliland will be 7th overall. You've got Tony Melito 8th overall, and Treffert, who just finished his lap, he'll be starting 9th. Reinhold Kron P10. Poole will be starting 11th, Michael Levitas in 12th, and lap 13th. From there, you've got Manship starting P14, Dan Ammon 15th, Woody Wichard 16th, and Groombridge rounding out Group A. Group B will be up in a moment. We'll be back with coverage of the last of our GT3 Cup qualifying.
Experience the ultimate thrill, Porsche GT Track Day, where passion meets performance on some of North America's most legendary racetracks. Designed exclusively for Porsche owners, this is your chance to unleash the full potential of your vehicle in a motorsport environment. Drive the same circuits as professional racers, on the same weekend as Porsche Sprint Challenge events. Where will your Porsche take you? With limited space, every Porsche GT Track Day ensures a premium, exclusive experience. You'll get nearly 3 hours of track time, starting with reconnaissance laps, progressing through lead-follow sessions, and culminating in exhilarating open laps. Plus, strap in for heart-pounding hot laps with a professional race driver.
I thought I was fast. Didn't resemble anything that I've ever done.
Beyond the track, immerse yourself in VIP hospitality, premium viewing areas, and exclusive paddock access where you can witness Porsche Sprint Challenge teams in action. Spots are limited. Scan the QR code now to reserve your place at Porsche GT Track Day. Experience the ultimate thrill, Porsche GT Track Day, where passion meets performance on some of North America's most legendary racetracks. Designed exclusively for Porsche owners, this is your chance to unleash the full potential of your vehicle in a motorsport environment. Drive the same circuits as professional racers, on the same weekend as Porsche Sprint Challenge events. Where will your Porsche take you? With limited space, every Porsche GT Track Day ensures a premium, exclusive experience. You'll get nearly 3 hours of track time, starting with reconnaissance laps, progressing through lead-follow sessions, and culminating in exhilarating open laps. Plus, strap in for heart-pounding hot laps with a professional race driver.
I thought I was fast. Didn't resemble anything that I've ever done.
Beyond the track, immerse yourself in VIP hospitality, premium viewing areas, and exclusive paddock access where you can witness Porsche Sprint Challenge teams in action. Spots are limited. Scan the QR code now to reserve your place at Porsche GT Track Day.
It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. We're here for Group B in the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America GT3 Cup qualifying sessions. We've already had Group A, with Caden Kelly setting the fastest lap in the Masters in that group at a 150.2. Cole Kleck the fastest in the Pro-Ams at 148.5. There's your markers that all drivers are going to have to be aiming for. Of course, as we mentioned before, if you're just tuning in, they will be mixing in the times according to where they would all line up. So it is still important to get a fast lap. Even if you're high amongst those drivers in this group, you want to be faster than those in the other group as well as they head out onto the track. I'm Joe Peak with Joey Atterbury here once again. Joey, what is your takeaway from that first qualifying session? Anything interesting?
It's hot, it's humid, and the fast cars went out there. They did their laps, and then they came into pit lane, which means they are kind of saving their best stuff for the race. The longer you drive on these tires, especially with how hot and how humid it is out here this weekend, the less tire is going to be there for you in the race. Now, obviously, these Yokohamas do an excellent job lasting the entire race distance, but it is still up to those drivers to manage those grip levels when they need them the most.
You can see Scott Blend ahead of us as we ride on board with Therese Lalou. Blend, as we mentioned in the previous session, has been the one that is fighting with Caden Kelly for that championship in the Masters class, but it's been heavily in favor of Scott up till now. Had some good results lately for Lalou. Took a podium back last time in Texas, and we'll see how she can fare this time around, as well as each of them prepping the car, try and get them ready to go. This is the out lap right now, so not looking to go quick, just trying to get everything ready. And as we can see, Joey already trying to weave to scrub the tires.
Yeah, it's exactly what they're doing. There's kind of multi-purpose for this weaving left and right. I think see one of the cars trying to kind of jump the order in the queue, and that's always a little unnerving if you see it in the rearview mirror thinking, okay, are they going to try to accelerate as I'm weaving back and forth? But back to my point, it not only cleans the tires when you go left and right, but it also helps warm up the tires. And I would say right about here, if I'm Scott Blend, I'm on the gas.
It does look like that's the case. He's starting to take off a little bit. Trying to figure out who that is behind Therese that might want to back off a little bit unless she's going to get a quicker lap than them, and they feel like she could tow them along, but they'll come across the line. First drivers now at speed and crossing past the flag stand into the horseshoe at turn one.
And that is Frank Vitiello in that red and white number 248 that's chasing Therese Lalou. He was the one who kind of jumped himself up into that third place order in the queue. So now he is kind of just following Therese in that 242, that multicolored GT3 Cup car directly in front of Frank, and see if he can keep up with her, see if she's going to go a little bit faster, but it certainly seems right here in Sector 1, maybe just a touch quicker.
Do have the 220 going by us in pit lane. That's because they had a pit speed violation, so must have gotten off the button just a little bit too quick on their way out. So they've got a little drive through, and now they can carry on with their qualifying session. So far, I'm seeing quickest Therese Lalou, purple in Sector 1. That's amongst the Pro-Ams, but Blend, no surprise there, quickest in the Masters in Sector 1 right now. We'll see what the rest of the sectors look like. We're still waiting on this second lap to get us some impressions.
This group that we've been watching is accelerating out onto this long up and down back straightaway. And looking at this 248, you are picking up a little bit of a draft. You see Therese out there. It's not going to be a huge draft, but the air is moving that same direction after you have a couple of these larger, call it production-based cars cutting through the air there. So I'm sure that Frank is maybe seeing 1 mile an hour more, maybe 1.5 mile an hour more at the end of the back straightaway, which on your time delta on your dash, it's always nice to see.
I know when we talked to Ashley Freiberg in the booth back in Texas, we asked about the aero wake. She said it does give off a pretty big hole in the air, these cars. So that helps them down the straightaways, but it's definitely not going to help them around some of the faster corners around here. Is now we get our first times in. Scott blended a 150.3. Ooh, that is just about a tenth off, just slightly under a tenth behind Caden Kelly. He's very close, and that was only his first lap.
So now we're going to ride on board this 248. This is turn 3 known as NASCAR, and got to use up all of that extra runoff on drivers, right? This is, call it the slowest section of the racetrack where we saw Frank starting to go through the lower S's and kind of that 4, 5, 6 complex. Really technical throughout there, and then it opens up into those climbing S's.
You know me, I love corner names, and I especially love corner names when they have a story behind them, and NASCAR Bend is one of my favorites. It's named so because back in the first iteration of VIR in the 70s, 60s and 70s, they had NASCAR races here at this track, and multiple NASCAR legends. I mean, Richard Petty was in amongst them. I'm trying to remember the other two that were, but 3 different drivers went off at that same corner in that weekend in a big way. As Laura Eli, I'm just noticing, up second in the Masters. That's a great lap for her.
Huge lap, and we've actually got her on screen, I believe, here. Going up through the S's. Yes, this is the 209 of Laura Eli. So she just put down a 151.2, but we got problems out there on the racetrack. Looks like one of these GT3 Cup cars is off on driver's right, I believe. I'm not sure exactly where that is on the racetrack as we get back to Laura Eli. She's chasing the 219, and looks like we've got a yellow flag in that one sector. It's not a full course yellow, so Laura should still be able to complete this lap. Let's see what she does with the draft and if she pops out or if she stays behind.
Now, one of the things that's important here is if they – oh, and the car's going. Okay, this is great. I was going to say if they have a red flag, that the clock does not stop. And with it being such a short session, that would have meant everybody would have only had their essentially one lap to try and set a time. So it's good that's not being interrupted. I was trying to figure out who that was exactly.
288, it shows. 288 was off course at turn number 1, kind of like where we saw that car off at our qualifying Group A session. Turn number 1, probably your biggest brake zone down to the slowest mile an hour, at least in comparison to the back straightaway. So easy to kind of overstep the limit.
Behrman just set the fastest lap. It was Gaffarov, who was the car that was off, who was fastest of the Pro-Ams for that stage, but now it is swapped around. It's down to a 151.2 for Behrman, about 9/10 off of Blend, but quite a ways off of Cole Kleck. So quickest in this session, but still a ways to go to get the overall pole in class.
Yeah, shout out to Brady Behrman there as we watch the 245 exit out of Oak Tree and accelerate. That's Scott Blend, but Brady's been doing some Carrera Cup racing. So he's plenty familiar in these GT3 Cup platforms. Also been doing some IMSA competition and some GT4 cars as well. So Brady might be new to this season of Sprint Challenge, but he is definitely not new to this Porsche.
Last lap was slower for Blend, so did not improve. However, I just saw him go purple in the second sector. Didn't improve in the first sector, but it does look like he is on it as we watch his car from above coming down through the roller coaster and actually already out of Hogpen onto the main straight. So will this be a pole time for him? And no, it is still a 50.3. Did not improve on that last sector. He's still chasing it.
So close. It's just within grip out there, and it's just maybe finding a 10th here, maybe finding a couple hundredths there, and then maybe a little bit more in the brake zone at the end of the back straightaway. I think when you see that there's only, call it a 10th or 2/10ths on the board, you try to make it all up in one corner, which technically you could if you made a mistake, but it's so much easier to just grab little hundredths everywhere.
Yeah, last lap was a 50.4, so he was just a 10th slower. Very consistent, I'll give him that. He's keeping on it, but he still needs a bit more to try and take that spot away.
I was just noticing, I mean, we were just talking about Brady Behrman's time because he went P2, but in that span, Mark Bowden and Kesman have already eclipsed him. Now, granted, those are Masters class drivers, but it certainly seems just like the performance level on the racetrack starting to ramp up.
Indeed, which is a bit surprising because, I mean, it's getting later in the morning, so the track should theoretically be getting hotter and slipperier, but maybe there's just more to be learned.
It could be one of those. Now, we did see that these cars are capable to go 150 subs, so I think maybe the drivers are inching up to it as well, kind of finding those limits. And kind of to your point, Joe, if it is warmer in the day, maybe that's why we're not seeing them break that 150 bracket. And maybe that's why the drivers are out there saying, no, I can do it. I can do it. I've done it before. And that's why they're trying.
There was only a few minutes time between the last group and this group, so it shouldn't have gone up massively, but it does still somewhat change the conditions as we see Blend cross the line again, not able to improve that time by. Maybe he just used up all his stuff in that first go.
It's going to be tough to improve, I think. Scott Blend has so many laps around all of these racetracks that we go to. He's always inside these race cars, so he knows the performance levels. And let me read these off. His fast lap, 50.3. Previous lap, 50.4. This last lap that he just did, a 50.5. So what does that show me? Extreme consistency, but unfortunately it's trending in the wrong way.
Yeah, it does seem like the track is just not coming to him, unfortunately, as just had another car down pit lane. I think that was Kesman. Yeah, that was Kesman that just went by us, who has called it. Currently sitting third in this group of the Masters, and overall, honestly, just ahead of Behrman right now. Continue to watch Blend, our championship leader in the Masters class. Now, coming up here through Oak Tree, one thing I noticed, Joey, yesterday when I went out to watch the cars, it looks like this exit, this extra runoff, which he doesn't use, of course, this time, I noticed the car's bouncing a lot.
It's not smooth, is it?
No. I mean, does that affect your acceleration down this straight?
100%, yes. It can definitely affect your acceleration. However, it is still going to be faster to get on the gas sooner and open up that steering wheel and drive it over those bumps like a pro off-road truck and just stay on the gas. It becomes a problem when it upsets the platform of the car and it loses control. These Porsches are not losing control, so you just got to stand on the gas and deal with it.
And also hope that you don't go over the edge of that pavement, too. That was the other thing that struck me is we see, it looks like Scott heading into pit lane, so I think he feels like he's done enough. One thing I don't think the cameras really show is it seems like it's quite a drop-off on the down to the fence there.
Yes, it is a drop-off, and not only that, but just the pavement drop-off to the dirt, to the grass, right? So that's what you really got to be worried about. You don't want to damage your tires at all. And then the other thing is that if you get too far off, you could actually be doing damage to the underside of the car, considering that half of your car is on the racetrack, half of your car isn't. You're probably bottoming out the center.
David here in the 247, another driver I don't think we've seen yet this season. And don't think we saw him last season either. But he's coming around to try and improve on his 7th position in the Masters class. Currently sitting on a 152.3, so he's about 2.8 seconds off the best in this group. More and more drivers are going by us down pit lane, so I think many of them are feeling like they cannot get much more out of this, especially with only 2 minutes left.
Pretty impressive to still see Mark Bowden out there as we've got our camera on the 247 of Tuati here. But the Fall Line group, they had a little bit of problems with their 246 car. That's Mark Bowden's car yesterday, and they were here pretty late last night just trying to diagnose the problem, figure out exactly what's going on. I talked with Steve Zabel this morning, and guess what? He said everything is all fixed up, so that 246 should be ready to go throughout the rest of the weekend. That is great news to hear, and kudos to that entire Fall Line Motorsports team.
Is that difficult as a driver, Joey, to have an issue like that and then have complete faith in the car? Is it something that sits in your mind?
I wouldn't say no, especially not the type of issue that they had. And to be a little bit selfish as a driver, you have to trust your team, right? You're not doing it yourself. They are qualified to do that. So sometimes you have to walk away from the problem because you're not going to help it at all. Let the team do their thing, come back prepared and ready to go.
I like that. That's a good point. And David, last time by, looks like it didn't go any quicker. Drivers who are coming across the line going to be starting their last flyer. I thought I saw Therese Lalu coming to the end of pit lane, but I imagine she's probably not starting a lap. Meanwhile, the 291 going by David and getting track position. I'm not sure if this is going to be a quick lap unless David really got out of the way there.
Yeah, the 247 I think is definitely on a cool down lap, just kind of judging by that car going by and just the overall pace through that, call it Sector 1. Now this car that we've got going up through the uphill S's, they are definitely on it. You see using all of that track width left and right. A little bit of dab of the brakes up there at the top of the hill. Typically, we don't see that, so maybe this 291 is also on a little bit of a cool-down lap. I know that the team always likes it when the driver brings the car in hot. You want that fresh data point, so actually, the more you cool down the car on a cool-down lap, the less relevant that data actually is.
Unless we get a car by quickly, this is going to be it, and we're going to see the checkered flag next to some names here as we come down to 0, and there we go. Checkered flag should be flying. So we've got almost all of the drivers in. Tuati is still out there. Javier Ripple Jr. still out there. Shermer and DeJesus. But we'll see if they take this lap or not. And they're towards the lower end of the field. Most everybody at the front has settled it, which means that Caden Kelly should be our overall pole on this one. Or excuse me, Cole Kleck is our overall pole, with Caden Kelly our Masters pole amongst these drivers, as Behrman was a ways back. It was definitely much better for the Pro-Ams in the first group.
Yeah, I think that once we get everything combined with the run group and we really get everybody lined up on that 2x2 grid, we're going to see how competitive, how fierce these drivers really are. Remember, this front straightaway at VIR, incredibly long. That green flag, it's pretty far down the straightaway here, so we get to kind of see all that jockeying for position, you know, kind of the tempers come out a little bit early, and then it's a good run down into turn number 1.
I'm not sure if we're going to see these other two do. Well, no, I'm going to wait just a second, because DeJesus is on personal bests in both the first sectors, so he could jump up a little bit. Let's watch as Shermer is done. But don't want to call this too quickly, but we've got pretty much everybody locked in on their lap times here in Group B. But DeJesus is our, our delay on this one, unfortunately, for us. We wait to see if he tries to complete. He is going to finish the lap, but he doesn't improve position. Did go quicker, but it's not going to be enough. So let's go through the order for Group B. Scott Blend finishing the quickest with the Masters, as Bowden will be P2. You've got Kesman in 3rd. Behrman, the fastest of the Pro-Ams, is 4th overall. Laura Eli, P5. Gafarov in 6. Grady Willingham, 7th for him. Therese Lalu in P8. Vitiello, P9. And Josh Conley in the 10th position. Tuati is in 11th. Womack in 12th. Ripple Jr. 13th. And Shermer 14th. DeJesus rounding out Group B. We'll be back later today with the racing. Qualifying is done. It's time to get out the competition. That'll be at 1:20 p.m. Eastern Time for the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America Cayman Series. Tune in when we come back for that.